Would I be the asshole if I told my boss it's not my job to cover shifts for them? Sorry on mobile. I get a certain amount of annual leave per year, and as I work anywhere from 10–16 hours a day, 7 days per week, I really look forward to my time off. I booked my holiday for next weekend, it was approved, and then I get a text saying my holiday is cancelled because it's Eid and they can't find cover, and now that I'm not leaving I don't need to use my holiday up now. I had previously handed in my notice, but the people I care for convinced, guilted, me to stay. What can I say, that's how they get you in healthcare. Anyway, I had already made plans, and it doesn't feel fair to tell me to rearrange my plans when the holiday had already been approved. It's not my job to find cover, they are management, not me. I offered to move my holiday to the following weekend, but I haven't had a response, as I have a feeling someone else is on holiday next weekend, so that will be denied. If I go through with this, it will need to go to higher management, and I can probably get my holiday back, but it will make waves and make things uncomfortable. Especially because if they can't find cover, they are responsible for covering the shift, and I know they've got young teenagers at home, so they would need to find someone to watch them, and it would be a hassle. In all honesty, I am completely exhausted and burned out, so my previously mentioned plans consist of being in comfy clothes, doing absolutely nothing for anyone else, making absolutely zero decisions about anything at all, and watching Netflix all weekend and sleeping. So in theory there's nothing stopping me from sucking it up and working, but honestly I'm just so tired. Like, I cry in my car when I get home before I go inside every night because I am so tired. Would I be the asshole if I tell her that if she can't approve the following weekend, then I want my holiday back, because her inability to cover the shift is literally none of my business and it was already approved in advance, so I made plans? Edit. Definitely going to hour. I booked 3 hours holiday for this evening at the beginning of June, and it was approved by her weeks ago. Just had a phone call with her shouting at me saying, "Why aren't you at work? I never approved this holiday. Feels like you don't even want this job. I'm so fed up of you and your annual leave," and so on. I tell her to stop yelling and look at the schedule. It's there in black and white. She says she will let me have this evening off, but we need to talk on Monday. She calls me back and says it's not there, I'm lying. So I send her a picture I took to prove it, and she's not said anything to me since. So now I just get to be an anxious mess until I see her Monday. So much for taking time off to relax. Edit. Just to answer questions coming up regularly. I live in the UK and I work in mental health support and absolutely love my job, which is a big part of the reason I've put up with a lot of awful things from management. I have always enjoyed working and studying because it helps me to feel good that in helping people and I don't have to think about my own problems as much. Not super healthy, I'll grant you, but I have a respiratory condition that bulldozes my life randomly, so I want to do as much as I can for as long as I can to help others. I'm wrestling with if I should find another job because my only issue is with my line manager, and I don't know if I should stick it out for all of the other positives this job gives me. I'll think on it. I am going to upper management on Monday and will discuss all of my issues, but I am going to be thinking a lot more about finding some kind of work-life balance. Thank you all so much for your thoughts, advice and opinions. Not the asshole, but I would have told them. Unfortunately, since you already approved it, I went ahead and made non-refundable, non-transferable plans for $2,000. Are you all going to reimburse me? If so, cool, I'll work. If not, I'm sorry, this is on you. Chances are they wouldn't reimburse, so they'd just let you have it. Not the asshole. If you died tomorrow, they'd send flowers to your funeral, maybe. Maybe. You'd be forgotten as soon as they hired a new person. Businesses are not families. Make waves, get your vacation back, and unless you are so broke you can't. Please stop working 7 days a week. Not the asshole. Your time is valuable. I don't know who forgot to tell you that, but your time isn't only as valuable as the efforts you make for a company. The hours you work are borderline inhumane, and you deserve a break, to say the least. If you felt the need before to leave the workplace but got guilt-tripped into staying, let the dangerous precedent management is setting here be all the reason you need to find a better workplace. They've made it clear your valuable time means nothing to them. I urge you to find a better place to work. Work isn't worth breaking into tears every night and being miserable over. Life is short. Don't just suck it up. Take care of yourself. This company won't care when you're gone, so you need to care about you. Hold up. You work supporting people with mental health issues. You are taking 2 days off for your mental health. And management is exploiting you and manipulating you to neglect your own mental health to care for others' mental health. Also, they don't have to cover your shift. Not the asshole, but man, your manager sucks. Not the asshole. And #X200B. Just quit. That is not a sustainable job. Find something that treats you like a human. Not the asshole. You applied for leave and it was accepted. It isn't your fault they didn't plan properly. Take the time and run. Not the asshole. If previously approved, I can't see any reason there are grounds to rescind it for being ED. It was going to be ED when you applied and were approved. This isn't some new emergency. When I ask for time off, it's more in informing my supervisor that I'm using my time. It's not looking for a yes or no if I can go then or not. So I could be ignorant about how it works elsewhere. But I'd think even in a situation where you have to get approval, it would be on the boss to check out staffing needs before giving the approval or not. Am I the asshole for allowing my son's friendship with a younger boy which turned romantic? Posting here because in the heat of the moment I was furious, but now I'm having doubts. And #X200B. As a teenager, my son, Josh, had a best friend, Pete, who was 2 years younger. They met through a mutual hobby when they were 13/15 and became tight pretty much overnight. At the time I remember being a little surprised by just how quick. But when you saw them together you could tell they just got along, so I didn't worry about it. If anything, his mom and I were kind of relieved. Josh had been having a bit of a tough time back then. He was very introverted and a little behind his peers maturity-wise, so he didn't really have any close friends, and Pete was a smart, outgoing kid who really brought, or dragged, Josh out of his shell. We thought Pete was a great influence and liked him a lot. And #X200B. Once Josh went away to college, we stopped hearing about Pete, which was sad but not unexpected, since Pete still had 2 more years of high school. We didn't hear about him again until a couple of years ago. Josh told us they had reconnected and were dating, and we were very happy for them. They got engaged last year, and with everyone having had their shots, we hosted a small engagement party last weekend, also inviting Pete's parents. And #X200B. Pete was raised by his mother, great lady, with his father Bill living out of state. As a kid Pete saw him during vacations, and several times invited Josh to come. Our party was the first time I met Bill, and he seemed kind of cold. Then just before he left he approached me and asked straight out when I knew Josh was gay. I was taken aback but answered honestly that his mother found indications when he was 14. Bill then called me an asshole for allowing my son to hang around a younger boy when I knew about him. It turns out Bill always thought Josh was weird, and the only reason he allowed Josh to come on visits was because Pete refused to go without him, which in his mind just made it all the creepier. I admit I got heated at the implication against my son, especially as here at home they weren't joined at the hip and did lots of things separately, but Bill just said, "Well, it's too late now," and left. And #X200B. At the time I was mad, but now I wonder, should I have been more vigilant? Not that I think Josh would ever do anything deliberately wrong, but the truth is in retrospect they were extremely attached. Even when Pete had a girlfriend, my understanding is he is bisexual. There was just never anything which struck me as inappropriate at the time. If it helps, after they got together I did ask Josh whether there was ever more to it back then. He said there was some stuff under the surface that they both tried to ignore, and that the only time it was expressed was right before he went away to college. Pete admitted feelings but Josh turned him down, after which they fell out of touch until they reconnected. And #X200B. I can't exactly put my finger on what's niggling at me here, but I'm wondering now if we should have done something differently? Am I the asshole? Your son is not the reason Pete turned gay, and the homophobic asshole who tried to tell you this is 100% the problem here. You were a supportive parent, happy to see your son thriving with a friend. That will never be a bad thing. Not the asshole. You're worried that your son groomed their son. Take sexuality out of the equation. If Josh were a girl, what would you think? Their age gap is not large. They have been friends for a very long time. They separated around the time they both became adults. Then, after several years of being adults, they reconnected and began a relationship. This is not the pattern of a predator grooming a child. A predator does not let his victim go the moment they legally can pounce on them. A predator does not stop talking about their victim. A predator does not allow their victim to date other people. You are not the asshole, and neither is your son. This is a storybook romance, and Josh's dad can't see it because he's an ass. Not the asshole. Sounds like Pete's family is homophobic. It sounds like their relationship has been appropriate through the years and you have done your job as a parent. Now that they are both older they have decided to be in a consenting relationship, no problem there. Just realized I left out their present ages. Josh just turned 31, Pete is 29, and they were both over 25 when they reconnected. Not the asshole. And honestly, what hits me hardest here is that Pete refused to visit his father without backup. His dad is the problem. Not the asshole. They have a 2-year age difference. The only thing that would be different if they were different genders is that they probably wouldn't have gotten to have sleepovers. Not the asshole. The thing that is niggling you is this Bill asshole basically labeling your son as a sexual predator. Not the asshole. Obviously your son didn't turn his gay. That's not how anything works. He's a homophobe, plain and simple. You should have told him off. Am I the asshole for ditching my boyfriend at his friend's wedding? The first time I tried writing this post, I was 4x over the character limit. Trying again, speedrun style. We're all in our late 20s, by the way. Been dating Henry for 4 years. Got together a year after him and his ex, Kim, split up. They dated for 10 years. I know nothing about Kim. Henry never mentions her unless I ask, which I think I've only done once. From what I do know, she initiated the breakup, but it was mostly mutual. Kim was a bridesmaid in the wedding. So, the story, still speedrunning. Ceremony starts. Henry's visibly uncomfortable as Kim walks down the aisle. Reception starts, he looks even more uncomfy as the bridal party is introduced. Henry starts asking our table if anyone brought booze. One guy did. They excuse themselves to take shots somewhere at the venue. After dinner, the bar opens. No hard liquor, so Henry's inhaling beer. He uses alcohol as a crutch in social situations and it takes a while for him to get a buzz, so nothing unusual, really. An hour in, Henry and his friends step outside to share a blunt, legal state. 15 minutes later, the group comes back inside, without Henry. I ask, is Henry still outside? And am met with bloated silence, then stammering. Not sure. You could go out and check. So, that's what I do. He is outside. With just Kim. I walk up, introduce myself, exchange pleasantries, etc. Kim excuses herself and heads back inside. Henry starts to give me the whole, I know this looks bad, but, speech. Kim just wanted to catch up, he didn't know what to do. I tell him I'm not going to start drama at a wedding, let's just get back inside, but I don't want to see that happen again. He apologizes as we walk back. We have a great hour together on the dance floor. He leaves to grab another drink at the bar and disappears, again. Again, I ask Henry's friends if they know his whereabouts. Same silence, stammering. Henry's old BFF pulls me aside and says, hey, didn't want to say this in front of everyone because I didn't want to embarrass you, but he's outside with Kim. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. I know his phone is in his pocket, so I call him. Ignored. Called 5 times in a row, ignored. I peek outside and see them together, sitting way too close for my comfort. This time, I don't interrupt. Just went back to the reception. I congratulated the bride and groom, told everyone I'm heading out, but it was great to see you all again. Got an Uber back to our hotel. Henry shows up at our room about 45 minutes later and is pissed. Said he was so worried when he couldn't find me and I had no reason to ditch him like that. So I said, should have answered your phone, I guess. I refused to hash things out with him further. We're both drunk, it's not the time for that. The drive home was silent. We haven't seen each other since the wedding, last weekend, for a myriad of reasons, so we haven't talked about it yet. We will tomorrow. Am I the asshole? I thought leaving was the right thing to do at the time, but now I feel like I went absolutely nuclear. Opening parenthesis. Not the asshole. It made you uncomfortable and he did it again. In fact, you're so not the asshole because you left instead of making a scene. Good luck when y'all chat. Not the asshole. You did everything right. You did not make a scene, did not argue with him at someone else's wedding, and you said bye to the bride and groom before leaving. Ditch the guy, he clearly has some things to work out. It is not okay to ditch your girl at an event that is your friend's, all while catching up with a very serious XGF. Not the asshole. In fact, you handled it beautifully. Henry on the other hand has some nerve playing the indignant victim here. Even if there was nothing going on. You told him how uncomfortable his spending one-on-one time with Kim was making you, only to have him turn around and do it again. Suffice it to say, your feelings are not a priority for him. Good luck with your talk, op. And I must say, I admire your cool resolve under duress. NTA, actually you are a fucking queen. To say I would have caused a scene is an understatement. I would have been the bad guy when it was all said and done. He doesn't deserve you. Make him kiss your ass if you stay together. Not the asshole. Under the circumstances, you took the best option available to you at the time. Your boyfriend clearly has unresolved feelings for his ex which were obvious not only to you, but to many other people present. Going nuclear would have involved you making a scene, which you did not do. If he can't be in the same room with his ex without getting wasted and then repeatedly sneaking off with his ex to catch up while ignoring you and your phone calls, you may want to reconsider this relationship. Henry made a choice at the wedding and it wasn't you. Not the asshole. I think your reaction was classy. You were polite to the bride and groom, then removed yourself from a potentially embarrassing situation. Besides, who wants to be there when their boyfriend of 4 years spends his time at a friend's wedding having such long in-depth conversations that it takes him almost an hour to figure out his girlfriend has left? This sounds like the beginning of a reconciliation story, and everyone else didn't want to lie for him but were also uncomfortable with his behavior. Not the asshole. Self-respect is a beautiful thing. NTA. There should have been nothing said between them that could not be said in front of you. Am I the asshole for telling Sil she has no say of when I use my house where she also lives? My siblings and I inherited money from our grandfather when he passed away. Our dad was the administrator and he was not super strict and let us have access to it for practical things. I convinced my dad to let me have some if it early to buy a condo. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath and the price was amazing and very close to the university. After I bought it, my 2 best friends moved in with me and paid rent, and we lived there till we graduated grad school. I ended up getting married and moved away. I have rented it on, off, and family has lived there as well while attending university. I have 3 full siblings and 2 blew through the money in a few years and made very poor decisions. When COVID happened, my brother and Sil went through some very hard times. They asked me if they could move into the condo until they could get back on their feet and save money. I agreed but told them my rules: the master bedroom was mine and I could show up at any time. I did not want to get any emails from the WA. We were good. I am now getting divorced and share 50-50 custody with my ex. I have the option of working remotely or going into the office. 1 week a month when my daughter is with her dad, I have been flying back home and staying at the condo. I have felt a strong desire to be with my friends and want to spend more time with family. Here is where the issue is. I sometimes drop in last minute. On a whim I catch a direct flight back home and just show up. This has started annoying my Sil. She gets even more upset when I invite my friends over and we are drinking in the living room and acting like college kids again. It came to a head last weekend where she confronted me about how inconsiderate I was. She said it was rude not to give notice of when I was showing up and asked that I let her know a week in advance. She also said that she did not want my friends hanging out more than once a week and needed to be gone by 11 p.m. Here is where I might be the asshole. At first I laughed and then I got mad. I ripped into her and asked her who the fuck she thought she was. I reminded her that I was the owner of the condo and she had absolutely no authority to be laying out rules, especially when she was not paying for shit. I told her if she ever came at me like that again I would toss her out on her ass, and if my brother felt the same way he could leave with her. My brother confronted me and told me that yes, the place was mine and they were guests, but as a courtesy could I give them some notice, and having my friends over was also inconsiderate without notice. I told him no and he called me an asshole. My friends and I are not loud. Sil is very religious and is upset because we drink and have very adult conversations that offends her. So Reddit, judge me, am I the asshole? Edit for info. Brother and Sil do not pay any of the bills. They are in my name. They have lived in the condo since April 2020. I would have to serve them with a notice to vacate if they refuse to leave on their own. I think it's reasonable to ask for a day or 2 notice of you coming rather than just walking in, but a week is a bit much. And you don't need to ask permission for people to come over, but maybe just tell them, hey, my friends will be here tonight since it's shared living space, RN, favor or not for them. She's the asshole for demanding it all and trying to say friends can't come at all. Everyone sucks here. Yes, they're not paying anything, but for decency's sake you could tell them a couple of days or whenever you know that you're coming over and having guests. A week is a bit much maybe, but it's not like they're asking for veto power, just a heads up. As for the guests, you say in one paragraph that you act like college kids and the next that you're quiet. Which is it? If it's a weekday, then I think the request to tone it down after a certain hour is fair. All in all, it just seems like you're on a bit of a power trip and your Sil is stressed about the situation and demanding things past reason. I think maybe if you all calm down and sit down and have a real talk with empathy, this could be resolved fairly easily. Normally, I would say NTA, but you have to catch a flight. There is no reason you can't have the courtesy of telling them, going home, before opening the door with, surprise. SIL expectations are both a, ridiculous and b, against the pre-discussed terms. Therefore, everyone sucks here except the brother. If you treat them like roommates, they deserve the courtesy of roommates. If they're getting a great deal, they need to accept your rules. You are technically in the right, but if you are letting them live there, you're letting them live there. It is inconsiderate to just come unannounced. They could be in the middle of anything. SIL obviously sucks because she shouldn't be making demands in someone else's home. Do you have the right to drop by whenever you want? Sure. Does that make it any less rude? No. You are the asshole. Yeah. You're doing them a favor, but they're also living there. Her requests were reasonable. She just wants a heads up about when you're coming and for your guests to not stay over really late. You completely overreacted and got really controlling. Even if you thought she was asking too much, you could have offered a compromise instead of just going for the jugular like you did. I would give them a 30-day notice to vacate. If you plan to use it regularly like this, things are only going to get worse. Not the asshole. Everyone sucks here besides your brother, because from what you wrote he said sounded like he attempted to be civil. Yes, your sister can't make demands in your house, but honestly there's a difference between last-minute dropping by if you lived in the same town. But you have to buy a ticket, get to the airport, get on a plane and land. And you don't think at any time you can text your brother, hey, I'm coming by. While before it didn't occur to you that it bothered them, but now that you do, it sounds like you're purposely trying yo be an awe.